We have a very interesting case study today. This one really gave me a run for my money. What we have is a 2017 Hyundai Sonata, and it has the 2.4 liter. It's in limp mode because of a knock sensor code. Customer has already taken it to another shop and had the knock sensor changed, and that didn't fix the problem. So this is the code right here, P1326, and I looked the code up on service data, and I start to read about this code, and this is when I start to find out that this is first off, it's a very common issue with these cars, but second off is there's not a lot of actual repair fixes for this. There's this really big TSB, as you can see. It says how to troubleshoot this. So what it actually says is application vehicles with a 2.4 engine may have this code, and it may exhibit abnormal engine noise or a crank or no start condition. Follow this procedure to inspect the vehicle and replace the engine or update the engine ECU software based on the inspection results. Telling you what tools to get right here. It's saying you need a torque wrench and basically a 5-quart container to catch oil. It goes on to say, this is a dealership tool to check bearing clearance on the crank. This is a really interesting tool. So the only thing I can figure is it puts pressure on the piston, and it can feel if there is too much play on the crank and rod journals. I'm not quite 100% sure how that works, and it says something here, if the engine don't rotate, use this wrench to take off some torque converter bolts. But this car we're dealing with today, actually, the funny thing is it runs very well, and I hear no noise, and it's just the check engine light flashing, and it's going in limp mode. So I'll just continue to read and read and read and read. And this is really, I'm just trying to figure out what I can do to try to confirm this. For the longest time I was thinking, does it have such a small play in the rod journal that I'm just not seeing it or hearing it because it's so little and the knock sensor's picking it up? I just don't really know at this point. And here's some pictures that shows that this is what the piston shouldn't look like, and it goes on down to show what the lobes on the crank, if they look bad. Or here's a good picture of the piston, a bad piston. To me, that just looks like a lot of people not taking good care of their engine, and they're saying that's bad lobes on the crank. And this is a troubleshooting tree right here, and it actually talks about the flow chart. So the first thing is check ID and scan DTCs, look at freeze frame data, and then it says, does ECU already have KSDS update? Is cell on with P1326? Well, I'm not sure about the update because I don't have the factory software, but I do know the cell is on, so I can go to, the next step. Then it wants you to take a picture of the dipstick, and this is, and like the oil filler cap. Then the dealership uses this information to basically see if they can warranty the car. So basically what they're trying to do is get out of warranting the car. If the car has excessive buildup and sludge, they're not going to warranty it, and they're basically going to tell you to, you know, move on. The engine's too bad. But this one does not. I actually looked down into the cap where the oil goes in, and the engine, everything just looks normal to me. And it goes on to say, does engine crank? Yes. And then at the bottom left of the page, and then it says engine will rotate, go to A. So there's another troubleshooting tree that you go to. This is the part of the troubleshooting tree where it wants you to use that machine to check the rod bearing clearance. And at this point, I kind of stop and I move over to the car and I think, what kind of test can I do to try to figure out what's going on? There's not a dipstick in this car, it's missing, but I did have an aftermarket dipstick in the shop. So I made note of that. Now I'm checking the oil level just to, the oil actually looked really good. It may have just been changed, but it had plenty on the end of the dipstick. Didn't have any problems there. But here I'm got a stethoscope and I'm listening. The engine's running and I'm listening if I can hear any ticking noises. Don't think I hear anything. I kind of poke around a little bit more. Try to get under the intake manifold. That's where the knock sensor lives. Actually, I had a long screwdriver right there. Here I think I'm just prying around, looking at the, making sure nothing's rubbing. I read somewhere the dipstick tube can be vibrating. There was nothing there. So I'm back in the car here, and you can see it's still check engine lights flashing because I haven't cleared the codes and it's in limp mode. I get on my scan tool and I start pulling up some PIDs to try to figure out what could be the issue here. I pull up some data PIDs. So these are the knock sensor per cylinder PIDs. There's only one knock sensor, but I guess it can sense what actual cylinder is pecking if it is. And I'm kind of running the car and they all look pretty even to me. I don't really see anything out of the ordinary. What I end up doing is I kind of power brake it a little bit, try to stress the engine out, see if I can just see anything out of the ordinary here, and I really don't. Everything looks pretty normal. Okay, right here I have it graphed on my scope, the knock sensor, and I think I'm revving up the engine. No, actually what I'm doing is hitting the engine with a 3/8 long extension. And you can see those spikes coming up when I hit it. So if I get closer to 1, it gets closer to 1. So this tells me that the knock sensor is doing what it's supposed to do. Now, I don't know the exact frequency it's supposed to be putting out, but it looks like it's working as it should. There's really no way to check that, as far as I know. But you could see here that I'm hitting it hard, and not real hard, but it's picking up. And I'm not even on the side of the engine block. I want to make sure that this thing's working. So I actually get back into service data here and read a little more about wiring connectors, intermittent faults, and if you read, it talks about check the connectors, and I'm thinking, well, maybe I got a loose connector and it's it's dropping out, and or there may be corrosion or something on one of these connectors, because this does happen intermittently. He says it happens pretty often. So here what I'm doing is wiggling the wiring harness while watching the PIDs and seeing if I see any spikes. I would imagine that I would see a change if there's an open in the circuit. So I'm wiggling this whole harness while I'm looking at this data, and I'm just not seeing any change whatsoever. I work on this car for hours and hours, and I'm just kind of getting aggravated a little bit. I'm checking all the ECM connector. Everything looks really good. I think I do a drag test also, but I didn't catch it on camera. And then, I think, well, let me get another scan tool and see if there's any other codes. But I'd already messed up because I shouldn't have unplugged everything. Possibly could have had the key on and generated some codes. So I think that's what I end up accidentally doing here. And some codes come up, but it's from me unplugging some sensors. So this really didn't help me out at all. I probably should have thought of this a long time ago, but those are just codes that when I had the ECM connector unplugged. I watched a YouTube video where a guy says that VSM motor, I think it's what it's called. It basically is a motor in the intake manifold that switches positions, saying the gears go bad in those and they cause the knock sensor code. Well, here I'm actually manually controlling it, or that's what I do. I don't know if I'm doing that in this exact shot, but I bidirectionally control it and I don't hear a thing. I'm just checking everything I can think to check. I think I'm back probing into the actual knock sensor wires at the computer here. What I'm going to do next is, I think I do hook a scope up to this, and yeah, I do. I hook an oscilloscope up to it. For y'all that don't know what that is, it's a very powerful tool. It will give you the most detail on a signal. Here I'm plugging it all up, my scope. So I hit the side of the engine block again, and you can see those little pings. I actually feel like I got a better reading with just the scan tool, and that's me hitting the side of the engine block. But I'm making sure the signal's making it to the PCM at this point, which I already knew it did. Then I even take it another step and I ohm out the wires going from the sensor to the computer here, just to rule out maybe there's a little bit of resistance in the wire. I try everything. So here you can, I think I'm still just doing a resistance check. There's no resistance in the wires. Okay, so I got on this network that it's called diag.net, and you have to pay for this subscription. It's like $15 a month, but you do have to be a certified technician. I don't know all the guidelines or whatever, but I put in my ASE number because I'm kind of just trying to do some research. This is the exact problem that I'm having right here. Limp mode cell on, but this guy put an engine in it, or this engine has only 25,000 miles. Yeah, and this is the same code. We are dealing with a 2013 Honda Santa Fe. Mine's a 17, but it's the same engine. The issue is the vehicle will intermittently set this code and go into limp mode. P1 is knock circuit. I just replaced knock sensor, and this car, the previous shop had replaced it. I mean, this is exactly what's going on. So if you go on to read it, there's a bunch of people that comment, and I won't go through all of this, and I actually read every single comment. One guy says it's the wrong knock sensor. Another guy says do the wiring harness. Another guy says reflash it. I mean, it's just back and forth. There's, no definitive answer here. And at the end, basically the guy is really weird. Here's the final, I think this is him. Yeah, Mark. Thanks for all the help. After much research and reading this forum, we are confident that an update will fix this. Looking through the vehicle service records, we can confirm this thing is on its third engine, has had knock sensors and harnesses replaced, but found the dealer missed the TSB for the update, attempted to program in-house. So basically they're sending it to the dealer, and even after all this help, nobody knows. And it's very, very strange what's going on here. And then I see another case study on this website, and I read it, and this guy, he actually seen that the dipstick tube was against the intake manifold. I pushed it over, cleared the codes, and the cell went off. Well, that's all good. A lot of guys said good you found it, but I think later on in the post, here's an update. So maybe I was barking up the wrong tree. The car came back in, the cell was flashing. There was no misfires. I researched the code. They said the Hyundai does not list the code. He's just basically doesn't understand. So that the dipstick tube didn't fix it. At this point, guys, I'm just baffled. I really don't know what to do. I've done everything I can do. Everything checks out good. It seems to be working fine. I found that this car is still under warranty, the engine. So I'll show you that right now. Okay. So here is where I found that this car is still under warranty. I thought it was from the beginning, but I was trying to find information. The warranty coverage for engine long block repair replacement regarding engine damage from connecting rod bearing, which is basically what they want you to check in the test. If you remember at the beginning of the video, they either require an update or it's this internal engine damage. So it's extended to 10 years or 120,000 miles. Our car has 98 or 99,000 miles on it. So it's still under warranty. At this point, I'm really, really disappointed to say, but I recommended taking this car to the dealer. There was just nothing else I can do for him. I don't want to take guesses at my shop. And if I don't know, I just have to put my pride down and think, what is the next best solution for this customer? And it's still under warranty. It's really a no-brainer. They have a way to update it, and they have that fancy $50,000 machine that they can test it with that nobody in the world has but them. So it was just better for the customer. So if this video helped you guys out, and I'm just trying to be totally honest, this is the kind of stuff that goes in on a day-to-day shop. I hope it helped you. If it did, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe or check out some of my other videos, and I appreciate y'all watching.